I'm going to cover, I think it's 8. Have I written 8? Yeah, I have written 8. 8 tips, strategies to help you with binges and overeating when you don't want to. So, as some of you might know, I used to be morbidly obese. Thankfully, not anymore. So, these are things that I've personally used to overcome it. And the way that I see it is, I still will have binges. I still do this stuff. Inside, I'm still, I still have the same flaws. So I use these constantly. So I hope they can help you. I also, this isn't just my own experience, but what I've done is throughout the years really is I've looked at other people's experiences, things that they've done, and so some of it I've used myself and it's worked. Other stuff, maybe it worked a little bit, but I've kept it well-rounded. So I'm sure there's something I've missed, but I think it's a good little set of things that'll cover probably 90%, 95% of situations you'll find yourself in. So the first one is maybe a little bit rough to start on, but I think it's extremely important. It's to cut out the food and the meals that are that little bit too good. So, for example, for myself, it'll be something like cereal or oats with peanut butter and jam. So what would happen is, let's say I've had a long day, don't want to cook, feeling a bit miserable, whatever the excuse is, whatever the reason is, and I make myself a bowl of cereal just to eat something because I'm so hungry. I eat it. I'll eat the rest of the box. So my solution is I don't have cereal, especially not stuff that I really, really like, and I make sure that I don't have peanut butter, jam, and oats at the same time. So I'll have oats in the house, or I'll have maybe some peanut butter and jam for some other things. But I'll try not to sort of keep all the things in at the same time. Second one, which is quite a big one, and it's really more aimed at beginners, is don't be in too much of a calorie deficit. So if you're in a cut, don't do something crazy like 1,000 or 800, 700 calories per day. Do something maybe, I'd say 500 upper limit. 500 will get you some good results, and it's still not slow. So if that's too quick, go to 300. It's way better to go down slowly rather than plummet down and then bounce back up. Talking about bouncing back up, the third point is quite important as well. It's to do with momentum, which is don't let a break ruin your momentum. So let's say you're doing really, really well, and then you have a binge, right? What you might be inclined to do is to pretend it didn't happen, to just cover your face, keep moving on, ignore it, whatever. Don't do this. Acknowledge it happened, realize and tell yourself, look, this happened. And here's the important part. Don't overcompensate for it. The next day, eat exactly the same stuff that you were going to eat anyway. So if you wanted to eat 2,000 calories, eat that. Do not think, oh, well, I ate 3,500 calories, so I'll eat 500 tomorrow. No. What will happen then is, again, you will go all the way down. You'll be so hungry, you'll bounce back in a binge more times than not. So acknowledge the binge happened, realize it, don't try to brush it under the rug, but also don't try to overcompensate for it. So, fourth, this one's quite good. This one will probably cover a lot of stuff. Have filling, healthy meals and food ready and available, and if not, easily prepared. So for example, start of the day, meal prep your dinner, put it in a little container, maybe do that for the next 4 days or whatever. And if you don't have that, have a meal that you can make quickly without much of a mess, because I don't like cleaning up a whole bunch of stuff when I'm tired. I want something easy and quick that's not unhealthy. So there's quite a few meals that can fit this. Have like a little roster, maybe 2 or 3 meals, where if you come home after a long day of work and you don't want to make something, you've got this meal that's satiating, it'll fill you up, and it's not disastrous. Bonus if it's really healthy. So an example, I guess, would be, like, I don't know, a head of broccoli and chicken, just something dead simple. Or like cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, something where you just put it in, done, eat, simple. So, the 5th one. Personally, I haven't had a huge problem with this. It was kind of where I first attacked myself to lose the weight. I was like, right, we'll just stop doing this, and then that helped a lot. It's to do with going shopping. If you go to a store, go on a full stomach. If you can't do that, what I'd say is write a shopping list and stick to what's on the list. Just get yourself to stick to it. If somebody else does your shopping for you, like for example your wife or maybe your parents, ask them to support you. An example that I would use if they're like, don't be ridiculous, is because food is an addiction. It's a genuine medical problem that will lead to obesity, heart problems. It'll ruin your life. So let's not act like, oh, it's just a little sweet. Ask them if you're an alcoholic, if they still buy bottles of beer to keep in the fridge. Really? Really? I don't think so. So hopefully, of course, it won't need that level of convincing, but that's the way I see it, at least. 6th. This one is about the binges. Similarly to the point about once you've had a binge, this one is about in the binge. And hopefully it'll help mitigate the binge and perhaps even avoid it altogether. Be conscious, be present, notice exactly what you're doing. And so if you're eating, let's say, Kit Kats, notice every single bite, how it feels, how it tastes. Does it bring you pleasure? Is it nice? Is it not nice? If you're at that point where you're just like stuffing your face full, is it displeasurable? Notice that for every single bite, and notice how the pleasure changes over time. And just be aware of what you're doing. You don't necessarily need to stop yourself, but just know exactly what you're doing. Feel free to stop at any time, of course, but once it's going, the best thing you can do is become aware and then maybe slow it down a bit. Because like with the cereal example, it's like that. I've just eaten like 5 bowls of cereal, and in these binges you tend to sort of lose complete awareness of what you're doing. Not in a kind of, oh, I was lost in a trance and the food demon went and made me eat 50 Kit Kats. It's, you don't like what you're doing, so you just kind of power through it, cover it up in your mind, and you move on. So be conscious about that. 7th. Yeah, this is a big one. And this is one that it'll need training, but the more training you do for it, the stronger it gets. It's to do with when you find yourself in a quandary where one option is using an insane amount of willpower, and the other option is eat the sweet thing. How do you deal with that? What do you do? What's the strategy? Well, here's how it works. If you're going to say no to eating it, decide that immediately and stick with it. But you also need to realize if you say yes, that's okay. You can do that. Say yes, have the sweet, and eat it. The part of the no is it's really interesting. So let's say, for example, you say no, and then you've got this battle inside you going on for maybe 5 minutes. It'll probably be a bit longer, but let's just say 5 minutes for argument's sake. And then after 5 minutes, you give in and you eat the thing. You might think, well, I've fought for a while, surely that's improved my willpower. No, it hasn't. It's actually made it worse. You should think of yourself as I think a Dr. K from Healthy Gamers, he put it this way. Think of yourself as a child. If you say no to the child and it grovels and cries and complains for 5 minutes straight, and then you say yes, you've taught the child, if I cry enough, I will get what I want. And the exact same thing happens with willpower. If you say no and then renege on that, your mind will learn, we just need to nag him enough and then he'll change his mind. So let's say you've got five instances of where a battle needs to occur. Let's say you put in that 5 minutes effort for all of them. You've just spent 25 minutes over 5 different times fighting, and then losing. Well, what if for 4 of them you just say, look, I'll eat the sweet. You eat the sweet, done with it. And then on the 5th, you put up an almighty battle for 25 minutes. That's how much all of them added up would be. And then you win. That reinforces in your mind that you can win, and that when you say no, it means no. Taking it another little step further is you can add, what I've done is the power of my voice. So this is kind of 7.5. If I say no, that's it. There is what I say is what happens, and there is no alternative. If I say I'm going to do, 500 push-ups today, it will happen. Because otherwise, I'm a liar, and I've broken my word, and then my word is worthless. Use it sparingly, though. If you try and set off and you say, I'm gonna never be tempted again, well, you've just lied, because you will. That will happen. Use it sparingly. Start using it for small things. So if there's something you're like 80-90% sure you can take this one, say you're going to do it, so that then the next time, let's say something a little bit harder comes along and you're like, I could do with that boost of actually saying it and then committing myself to it. Say it again. Don't use this too much and like carelessly though, because if one day it breaks, then it's useless. Right. And the last one, this one can actually be applied in different areas of life, and I'll give an example, a little story afterwards of how it can be. Do a sport or activity that burns a quantifiable amount of calories. What do I mean? So the example I've got here is, for myself, I know that running 5 kilometers at a 6-minute pace will burn approximately 400 calories. It's different for everyone. There are online calculators for you to figure this out for yourself, or you can use a Fitbit or the basic little thing in the gym where the treadmill says how much you've burnt. It's not completely accurate. None of these are perfectly 100% accurate, but it'll give you a ballpark idea. Be aware of how many calories that is. The reason for this is, let's say you're tempted by a chocolate bar. I actually Googled this, and a sort of a 60, 70 gram, 75 gram chocolate bar, generally about 400 calories. So that works well with my example. It's like that big, can be gone in 5 bites. I could make it last 10 though. Well, my point is, be aware that if you eat this, that's all of that work. That's what it's worth. That's what it equates to. And just be aware of that. And so if you decide to go and eat something, just be aware of what the cost is. So an important little bit about this is don't, and I guess this applies to all of these, not just this one, but this one is where I decided to put it, is don't be tyrannical with yourself. Don't don't crack the whip and just brutalize yourself and punish yourself and be harsh on yourself for, like, let's say you eat the Kit Kat. Let's say you eat it, and if your internal monologue is, you fat piece of shit, you're never gonna make it, well, that's just violent emotions, and it's not gonna help you. Just be real with yourself, be straight with yourself, and say, hey, look, I'm having a Kit Kat, it's gonna be enjoyable, I like it, that's what I'm doing. And then obviously, try and do that a little bit less, but don't be brutal. So the anecdote for the last one is, and how it can be used in lots of areas of life. You could do this for time, for money. For money is how I did it. When I lived in Plymouth, I was a delivery boy on a bike, and this was before I could afford to put an electric motor on. The way that Plymouth works is you've got sort of the central area with pretty much all of the restaurants and fast food joints. On the one side you've got the sea, and then on the other side you've got a big hill that goes up to pretty much where all of the residential areas are. So you can see where this is going. On a delivery that goes maybe a little bit past the hill, I could earn £4 or £5. And let me tell you, cycling up that hill was damned hard. Not impossible, but it was hard. Because obviously I didn't want to take too long for the customer, and so I pushed myself. I'd be out of breath at the top easily. I'd see other delivery boys riding up with their electric bikes, just zooming past, and I'm there killing myself on this like 12 kilo mountain bike that I got for 20 quid and refurbished. So £4 or £5 to go up that hill, plus the wait time, and then add it all up. When I saw something that caught my eye, that I'd maybe want something, whatever, it wouldn't be something overly fancy. I mean, let's say maybe something from the grocery store, like some fancy food, or maybe I saw something on Amazon that I was like, oh, that's nice, for maybe 20 quid. I'd ask myself, is it worth cycling up that hill 4 or 5 times? Is this item worth that? Would you do that to get this item rather than just paying 20 quid? Because it's easy to pay 20 quid. I just go on my phone, go on my bank account, press a button, and it's gone. But it's damned hard to cycle up that hill 4 or 5 times. More often than not, I think, no, I wouldn't cycle up that hill 4 or 5 times to earn myself this item. Therefore, I'm not going to buy it because it's not worth it. And in the same way, ask yourself, would I run 5 kilometers in 30 minutes to eat this chocolate bar? Maybe you would. There have been times when I've been like, you know what? Yeah, I'll do it. But other times I'll think, absolutely not, and then I don't do it. So, that covers all of the 8 points. Almost 9, I think. I hope they help you, and I hope you can apply them to your own life and your own situation in a way that makes sense. Good luck.